I have to be careful because of regulations, so I'm not a financial advisor. In my opinion, I think you have buckets. You have low risk, you have high risk, right? You have medium risk, right? And so you have to decide how much money you have in which bucket, and then you have to decide which bucket we fall into, right? Now, in my mind, I believe because we're invested in a tangible, real asset, and we're not affected by what somebody says. Like, our stock is not affected by the stock market. So what Biden or what Trump says does not affect, what Elon Musk says does not affect our stock price. Our stock price is only from the growth of asset value.
Okay, another question just come in. After I bought it, when can I sell?
6 months.
6 months. Buy it online? Can I sell online?
No, we buy it. So when you sell your stock, the REIT actually buys the stock back. So our stocks are never sold on an open market. We are a public stock, but we are non-traded. What it means is that the public can buy our stock, right? But if you sell your stock, we're the ones purchasing it back. And so that creates stability in our stock price.
现在目前公司还没有上市，所以说它的股价并不受市场的影响。但是我们的回报率，就像说我投资半年以后，它有没有一个比如年化率啊，或者是给我们一个固定的一个收益率。
So that would be the 5%.
Guaranteed.
That would be the 5% guaranteed, right? So that's your bottom line is the 5%, and then the high end, right, is what we've been achieving, the 36%.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when we investment, just all the decision is all your company doing. We don't make a decision, right?
Correct. We do all of it.
So we don't say, okay, you invest in this house, you from A or B or something.
We make all the. That's all us. You're passive.
就是说，是6个月的一次这个投资回报。那比如说，我现在投了这家公司的，我是随时都可以买卖呢，还是也就是说6个月以后我才能够去买卖这个股票？这个价。
Yes.
对，所以你现在买的话，你要等6个月以后才可以开始，才可以撤资。
才可以撤资。
对。
所谓撤资
就是把钱拿出来，对，
把钱又赎回来，
对对。
这个赎回的过程中，我的利润就产生
了。During the pandemic too, we've had people with emergencies, and we've always just taken care of them.
对，然后在那个疫情当中，他们有投资人出现，比方说非常紧急的情况，然后他也会特事特办的，对。
Because we only want investors who want to be in, right? And so for us, we do our best to be able to honor the withdrawals or the redemptions as fast as possible. So if we have 6 months, right, to honor that, but we've always been able to do it faster than that, but we have 6 months. That's kind of how our bylaws are written.
Okay, so after this 6 months, can I just sell or redeem my money and as soon as I wish or anytime?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Wait, no, you've got to make the request. Then we have 6 months for you to redeem.
Sorry.
So let's say 2 years from now. Let's say 2 years from now you say, okay, now I want to go ahead and do a redemption, right? From the time you request redemption, we have 6 months to honor it. Now we've always done it faster, but we have 6 months because it's real estate, and for larger redemptions, we may have to sell property or we may have to do something else. Like let's say you did the $5 million, right? That would take more time than like $100,000, which we could do really fast, you know. And so it just kind of depends on, you know, things that are going on. So we go through cycles too. And so like in August 1st, we invested $5.7 million into real estate, right? If somebody asked me on August 2nd for a withdrawal, I said you might have to wait a few days.
Yes.
Yeah.
But by now we're in the best cash position we've ever been in the history of our company. So if someone tomorrow, even if they had millions of dollars invested, said they want to redeem, we could do it the next day. But by our bylaws right now, just so you know what's in the documents, you have 6 months.
那这个跟这个平时投资股票的像那种公司就不一样，那种
对，因为他这个是他刚才他讲他公司自己买回来嘛，股票是你买给别人嘛。对。
We don't get very many full redemptions. It's very rare. Usually people will do they'll invest and then they'll pull some money out and then they let it grow and then they pull some money out and then they let it grow, and that's what's normal for us. I think in the last 12 months we haven't had a single full withdrawal from the REIT. So I think when people are getting their kind of returns and doing the way we're doing, right? We've had a few emergencies, but I don't really count those as redemptions. Like we had one investor's son who passed away, and we had some people that have been through hospitalizations. That's a little bit different, but yeah.
就是我想知道这个基金，它不是定期要公示吗？那公示到哪种程度？比如说，比如说它一个基金是5000万美元一个，我们记着视频你好听到，对吧？那这5000万美元里边，它筹集是一个过程，花掉又是一个过程。在这个过程中呢，我能不能看到每一个清晰的步骤？另外呢，就像刚才他说的这些标的，实际上是这个基金里边的其中的一些小标的，买了卖了或者出租，对吧？那在这个过程中，当他每结束一个标的的时候，我能不能通过他公示的账目看到清晰的这些账目和报表，还有之类的？OK， 其实就是他公示到什么程度。
So we have to submit financials to the SEC. So on our website, it's not the website. On our website, there's a link to the SEC that you can go to, and it actually lists the properties and their performance and those kind of things. So it says SEC filing right here. So if you click on that, it goes to the government website, and it has our addresses and our properties and the properties' performances. It's all right in there, and that's our audited financials from our accountants are in the SEC filing. Now that's looking in the past.
Yeah.
That's looking like what happened 6 months ago,
对，那是过去
3 months ago, a year ago.
对，过去6个月、1年之前的情况。
Now every month we do an investor call with all of our everybody who's invested. We do a Zoom call, right? And we show you new properties we're investing in. We show you performance of properties, and so we go through deal after deal of what's happening right now.
可能我表达的不是特别准确啊，我还需要再次重复一下这个问题啊。因为它是分作好几个REITs来不同阶段来发出来的。我如果投进去，我可能投资的就这一个5000万的REIT里面其中一份儿。那么，对于比如说我作为一个公司的股东来讲，我非常想知道这个公司日常费用多少，员工薪水多少，成本占了多少，会议多少，投资多少，有账面还有多少现金，有多少已经产生了收益，未来出租产生多少收益，这是整个一个账目流程，对吧？我关心的，我非常相信他们的专业能力，但是我想问问，是不是有这方面的账目能公示到这个程度？另外，审计是由谁来审计来公示出来
Okay. 2 questions. First is, will investors see your company's expenses?
P&L.
P&L.
Yeah.
It's listed on there. P&L is in that filing.
对，他说也在这个 SEC 的公示当中。
It's on the it says who the auditors are in the SEC filing, but on the PowerPoint I showed you earlier, it's CHO and then and Patel, Patel, and they're a Southern California-based audit firm.
对，他讲了一个加州的一个审计公司，然后是由他们来做这个审计的，然后也是在这个包括这个 SEC 的 filing， 就 SEC 的备案的文件当中也是有这部分信息的。
OK， 明白。是第
There
三
was
方
two
面。
questions though. That wasn't one. What was the
Is
other
that a third party audit company？ 第三方的。
OK。
对。
第二个问题，这个 REITs 如果我投进去，我可以转让吗？
And we stress every quarter when they're doing the auditing that like we're gonna have to go do more work or we're gonna have to adjust things, but it's always gone really smoothly because they ask a lot of questions.
OK， 他说他们这个审计其实都还是比较顺利的，就他们因为平时做的都很到位。您第二个问题是？
第二个问题就是，如果我投资了这个 REITs， 它能不能转让给我委托的第三方？然后中间转让中间会有没有费用？比如说我投了点钱，过了2年我想转让给我的孩子。
Okay. So after I make the investment, can I transfer it to someone else? Maybe my children? His question.
All other people,
There should
The
be
answer is-
private trustee.
Yeah, the answer is yes, but there's legal ways to do that. So there's trusts that you can do, there's wills you can do.
Okay.
But we actually have a form that if you want to do something like that within our documents that you can fill out, and then you can leave your children that if something happens to you as a beneficiary. So that's something.
那假设你看他在这个基金设立过程中，资金是逐渐进去的，对吧？比如这个基金可能是假设1月1号开始成立的，到现在还没有募集完成。那么1月1号进去的，他开始投资产生利润。我今天是8月20几号我进去的，那我这个钱在账目里怎么区分开？还是我在一个基金里，大家是共享一个从头到尾的共同的利润呢？
因为您进来的时候，每个人的股价是不一样的呀，所以最后您的收益是体现在那个股价上的，股价的变化。1月进来的，比方说他是11块进来的，您进来是16块进来的，对吧？我们随便讲哈，然后那你最后你持有了多长时间？比方持有1年以后，这16块它变成了20块，那么这个就是体现在你的股价上的，你的收益体现在股价上的。
The next question she asked is on paper, right? And then you get to be next. Okay. So her question was, what are the risks, right? What about tenants, right? So one of the things with what's the tenant risk? Well, in 2020 was probably the single worst year in the history of real estate for tenants. We received over 80% of all of our tenant rents.
我们收到了80%的租金。
There's a few reasons. One is we have a very healthy relationship with our tenants. We communicate with them. We give them access to the government programs. We have people that hold their hand and walk them through the government programs. And so that you do that one first, yeah.
是因为原因呢，是我们跟租客有非常好的关系，就包括我们跟他处得好啊，我们帮助他们去参与一些这个政府的援助项目，支持租客的项目，让他获得这个房租的补助啊这些。
And number two, we worked with them. We did payment plans. We were patient while they waited for government assistance. We're very positive, and we worked with them, and that worked out very well.
然后第二呢，就是我们跟他一起来解决问题，我们让他分期来付款，然后我们帮助他去获得政府的那个支持。
And the third thing is we rent to good people, like people who pay are people who pay, and even people who pay, but for some reason like they didn't have the ability to, they still want to pay, right? And so we try to make sure we rent to those type of people.
第三呢，就是我们要租给那些好的租客，就是会付租金的人，他就是会付的。就即便是有些可能他付不上，他可能也会想办法去解决的。我们是去租给这些租客的。
The next question is just kind of like structured risk, and I'm not sure exactly what you mean by structured risk. So what did you mean by structured risk?
For example, maybe you buy the land something and you building something. Is that including other risk?
So one of the things a lot of people don't understand about real estate is a lot of like, whether it was lawsuits, right, or something goes wrong, or like that thing in Florida, right, where the building collapsed, right? It's all covered by insurance. And so we are very good at our insurance to make sure that no matter what happens, we're very well protected.
好，他刚才是说呢，我们在对我们的这个房产呢，都是做了非常强的，买了非常强的保险的，像佛罗里达那个公寓楼坍塌呀，然后我们都是给房子买了保险的。刚才大家看的那个展示的案例当中有一个豪宅，一个 mansion， 对吧？那个他们是买之前是没有进去看过的。
So we bought it at auction.
我们是在拍卖会上买的。
And we got insurance on it.
我们买了保险。
But we also just estimated worst case scenario, right?
然后我们当时是按照最差的情况来预估的。
The rehab actually ended up being less than what was on the PowerPoint.
实际的这个翻修比刚才看这个 PowerPoint 上面 PPT 上看到的要更好。
The next one's about taxation, right? As a foreign investor, a REIT is the single best vehicle from a taxation standpoint for you to be able to invest in. And granted, you need to talk to an accountant or a financial advisor to fully understand that, but there's no double taxation. And a lot of ways that you invest, a lot of funds, a lot of different things, you would get taxed by the American government, right? And then you would get taxed by your government, right, for your returns. Within a REIT, that's not how it works.
好，the tax is only to the U.S. government, right?
Correct. It's supposed to be the one-time taxation.
只有一次性的给美国政府缴税。
The last one is, I call it the, pardon my language, but the oh shit, right? What if it hits the fan, right? What if there are governments? What if China and the U.S. go to war with each other, right?
对，然后还有一种情况呢，就是真的是黑天鹅事件发生，特别糟糕的事件发生。如果中国跟美国开战呢？
Because if you're a Chinese investor, that might be one of the worst things that you could think of.
对，如果你是华人的投资者的话，这个可能是你能够想到的最糟糕的情况。
For us, right? You're an investor, and you make a return. It doesn't matter what governments do. It doesn't matter what politicians do. None of those things matter, right? To us. Now, the other hand, if they did go to war, the Survivalist Project makes more money than it's ever made in the history.
他说，对于我们来讲的话，最重要的就是对投资者，你投了钱，然后你拿到你的回报，这是对于我们来讲我们做的事情。
And
然后如果
that's our insurance against politics.
OK， 然后如果说真的开战的话，那我们的幸存者项目一定会赚大钱的。然后这就是对于风险的一个保险，相当于为这个风险买了保险。
But the reality is, when you have two giants, they're not going to go to war. They might want to push each other around a little bit. They might want to make their presence known a little bit. But the reality is, the world runs because the giants run the world.
但在现实当中，两个大国呢是不会那么轻易的就开战的，他们可能会相互的来角力，然后因为这个世界是由大国来运行的，对，主导来运行的。
Good, that was this one.
Okay.
She's next.
Yeah.
其实那就是我就想是，我的理解是，就是我们最短的一个投资期限是6个月，对吧？那我们就是说，它最低的保障是5%的一个回馈率。那最终我们要是赎回的时候，就是按照当时的一个市价的股票的一个市价来赎回，那就是我们的一个投资回报率，是吧？是这个概念吗？
对，
啊，
是的。
OK， 明白。它不是说就是说半年给你一次5%的一个利息，不是这样子的哈。
年化是年化。
不是，它是分两部分的，它是分两部分的，一部分呢是这个股价的变化，然后另外一个它每年会有一个那个，对，就是对 distribution 类似于股息，然后它这个是保证5%的。对，然后这个5%的这个股息的这个部分呢，你可以选择重新投入，就再买成这些 shares， 买成这些股。 你也可以拿现金出来。
哦，这是一年化，就是每年年底的时候。
对，每年1月，应该是每年1月，对。
那所谓的这个上涨，其实就是股价的上涨，
对，
可能30%多、60%多什么。
对。
那我想问一下，在假设碰到极端风险下如何保障这个固定的收益率呢？因为我在想，这个基金有收益、赚钱，它才能保证一个最底。如果这个基金一直在赔钱，谁来保证这5%？
We had to back it with our financials with the SEC, and so what we had to do is we had to guarantee it, right, to the SEC that we'd be able to do that. And so we had to show our other personal investments, we had to show our other cash as a company, right? And so we had to be financially capable of backing that, and so that's what we did with the SEC is we provided that. It's actually all shown in the SEC filing how we backed the guarantee, but that's a part of our filing is we had to show them that in order to be able to do that, because everybody told us we wouldn't be allowed to do it. The first lawyer told us we weren't going to be allowed to do it, right? And other experts said we weren't going to be allowed to do it, but I said I want a guarantee during this pandemic, right, for my investors. And then so we went ahead and had the lawyers who said we could do it, draft it up, submit it to the SEC. The SEC came back with comments and said you need to be able to back this with your finances, with your money. You need to be able to have the cash, right, to back this distribution. And so then we went and resubmitted financials to the SEC to prove we could back the guarantee. So
所以刚才他说的呢是，他们在 SEC 去备案的时候，他需要去提交他个人的财产、他公司其他的财产、现金，然后来作为一个保证，就是对您刚才说的5%的回报的一个保证。最初的时候，律师告诉他说这个是做不到的，就是没法做这个保证。但是后来他们就在这个方向上面继续的去做。他说我想要在2020年，就是这个疫情期间，去给那个投资者更好的一个担保，更好的一个保证。所以他是拿个人的一些他个人的资产、公司其他的现金资产去担保的，然后这些都在 SEC 的备案当中是有体现的。
明白。
And I want to do a higher guarantee, right? And so that's something like in the future that like I want to do a higher guarantee. Right now, because of the SEC's rules and how they see things, like 5's where we've been at. But my feeling is that we could do an even higher guarantee financially. Like we can afford to do a higher guarantee. So, but we'll submit that in our next filings and we'll see what they say. Everything we do, they have a say about it. So the SEC is built to protect the consumer. And every single time they've seen a consumer get hurt, right, in the history of the U.S., right, then they institute a law, a mandate, a regulation to try and protect the consumer.
然后呢，他说他自己是想要做更高的一个这个回报率的一个保证的。然后在他下一次做这个 SEC 的这种登记的时候，他可能想要去尝试去提高这个。然后 SEC 呢，它的很多的要求啊，很多的限制啊，是出于对消费者的保护来设定出来的。
那么假设，就像我刚才假设说的，碰到极端风险导致这个基金亏损，那么我相信，因为通过担保5%的固定回报是可以实现的。那么在那个时候，我购买的股价会不会就下跌了呢？因为这个基金
那肯定的，您因为它股价体现的是整个公司的盈亏啊。
原来值5000万，现在可能只值4000万。
对，那肯定的，那一定的。对，那当然了。因为对股价就是你公司的盈亏的情况嘛，
所以我本金是不动的
，OK，
收益是固定的。
OK, his question is, if your company lose money, will the share price drop?
If the company lost money, right, the share price would drop. Yes. if we did. Now, what a lot of people don't understand about a REIT, right? I want you to kind of understand how the finances work in a REIT, right? So you have a P&L. Our P&L every single year, right, will show a loss. Every single year our profit and loss will show. Because, I'll give you an example. The farm that we own is, we bought it for total 2,000 acres, 7.1 million, right? And the next 3 years, I'll put between $2 and $3 million in capital expenditures into that farm in order to grow more crops, in order to make more income, in order to expand its ability as a farm. Now that 7.1, let's say I put $3 million into it, right, is a total cost of $10 million. Now the valuation on that farm at that point will be over $20 million. So I'll spend that $3 million, right, to make that $10 million in future evaluation. So your stock price is completely contingent on asset value. And so as our asset value goes up, right, your stock price goes up. Our profit and loss, right, our monthly income, right, doesn't affect our stock price, only asset value, and that's how the REIT is evaluated. The more assets we own, the more the value of our assets go up, the more the stock price is. But at the same time, I build a buffer. So with our $7.1 million farm, I only have the evaluation right now inside the REIT, right, at $8.1 million. And so the other $10 million before I put in the capital improvements, the other $10 million in equity, for me, will realize those returns and through the rest of this year, 2022, 2023, 2024, we'll continue to receive the benefit from that investment as a part of our asset value growth. Because I like to create that buffer in case there is a real estate downturn or in case there is something happen. I like to have that buffer to keep us safe and us protected with our prices. What's also different about a REIT is the entire purpose is the accumulation of assets. If a competitor enters the market or if things change, you still have the accumulation of assets, right? If Tesla tomorrow with Elon Musk, somebody comes out with a better microchip and a better battery, right? They're going to take massive market share from Tesla, right? Yeah. And Tesla's going to lose a lot of money as a stock if that were to happen. In a REIT, we don't care about competitors. Competitors only do what to the value of our real estate? Make it more valuable. It causes the prices to go up. And so for us, no matter what happens, we always have our real estate. We always have our assets. It's also different because let's say someone tweets or makes a press release, right? Like cryptocurrency, right? We're not going to lose 30 or 40% in value because nobody cares what somebody says about our real estate. What our real estate does is it's an asset that produces income that has evaluated, right, on that asset. But it's never just one asset for us, right? We own hundreds of properties. And so even if one asset, something goes wrong in one asset, it's made up for by the whole of the total of all the separate assets. That's why it's RAD diversified. It's diversified by all the different assets, the different types of real estate, but all the different pieces of real estate too. Now, it kind of makes it sound like I make it sound easy. To get to where we are, we had to fight, we had to claw, we had to win, we had to do things differently, we had to sacrifice to get to where we are. At this point, we're in this incredible, amazing position. But it was a journey and it was a war to get here. Just to become a REIT, I went through 10 different lawyers. I went through lawyers who said they know what they were doing and they didn't know what they were doing. I went through lawyers that say if you don't have $500 million in assets, we won't work with you, right? Just to find the right lawyer was a lot of work to be able to submit our paperwork to the SEC. And to find the right auditors. Like the first auditors didn't understand real estate. And so they couldn't handle very basic real estate things like why would a renter whose rent is $1,000 a month pay you $1,100 3 months in a row? They couldn't understand, well, that's a late fee 3 months in a row, and they were saying, well, that doesn't make, because they didn't understand real estate. So then we had to do a journey to really find auditors that understood real estate. That's not to mention finding our own in-house accountants that needed to understand real estate too. To get here was a long fought hard battle. Now we're in this incredible place to do amazing things, and at the same time we still fight the fight to get better, to do new investments, to see things other people don't see. But at this time we are in a very blessed place because we're in that magical zone of success.
我能继续刚才那个问题继续问下去。打个比方说，今天我打开网站，16块钱，没错，我可以按16块投入进去。我嘴比较那臭。我打个比方说，明天早上我打开网站的时候是8块钱，那我可能就需要赎回。那你 guarantee 的那个5%是按照我投进去时候的16块算，还是说我要出来那一天的8块钱去算呢？这第一个问题。然后再补充一个问题，就是我相信你们的专业性非常的棒。我想聊一下，因为我对房地产完全零认知，我想知道说，像你们这样专门投资在这个tax lien 和 tax lead 这样的 REITs， 在市场上，在美国市场大概是，比如说有10家、100家还是1000家，你们是处于怎么样的一个水平
The 16.
是根据16块，就在刚才您的那个。
If you invest $100,000, your guarantee is $5,000. So I don't know how many REITs invest in tax liens and deeds. No one does tax liens and deeds better than us, right? There's other companies that may do other things better than us. No one does tax liens and liens better than us. There's no question we're the #1 best investor in America when it comes to tax liens and deeds. I'm telling you, because we've been doing it longer and we do it better, and the track record and the history, like we're very good at it. And we figured things out that other people haven't figured out in that business. And we literally take trips that investors go on with us where we show them the lien and deed business, right? And we allow our investors to come to retreats, and we allow them to come on buy trips, and we allow you to go see houses, right? If you're in Philadelphia, Houston, Boise, Southern California, right? We don't want you to go and bother tenants, but doesn't mean you can't drive by any of the addresses that are on that SEC filing and go take a look at it. So when it comes to tax deeds and liens, I believe we're the best. When it comes to our competitors, right? And competitor is weird when it comes to REITs because there's private REITs, there's public REITs, there's publicly traded stock REITs, right? I will tell you that some of, I believe, are kind of direct competitors in the sense of people that advertise online and marketing to bring in investors and people that invest in real estate and stuff, right? I believe our returns wipe the floor with their returns. I believe they're far better, and I think there's a couple reasons. One, they're too big. They're tens of billions of dollars, and they just aren't willing to do the grind and the hustle to do the individual deal. And so, like, I'll give you an example. There's one called Fundrise, right? And several years ago, we contacted them because we said, we have deals that you can do, right? We have deals that you can do that beat the returns you are doing, and we can provide those deals to you, and we can work with you. And one of the reasons I said we're going to become a REIT, because there's people out there who don't capitalize on things like that. And so that's why, I know we beat their returns. And so I don't feel that we really have competition in the sense that, like, our returns are better because what we do is more effective when it comes to alternative real estate investing. Anybody with $1 billion can go buy a big office building. Anybody with $1 billion can go buy an apartment complex. But can they buy an apartment complex that's off the market, that finds an owner who's in distress, that doesn't know how to run it properly, and the income isn't what it's supposed to be? Can they see the vision of a farm that you purchase for $3,000 an acre and it's worth $9,000 an acre? They don't have that, right? And so that's why I think we're different than competitors. And I very much believe in the next 3 to 4 years we'll go from $70 million in assets to $1 billion in assets because of that. And at that point in time, we'll have to reevaluate, can we continue to scale and continue to make the kind of returns we are? But right now, that's the amazing position we are, is that, look, we can scale hundreds of millions of dollars in investments without having to change anything from the type of real estate we're doing today.
所以您的第一个问题是，它这个 REIT 成立多长时间了，是吗？
对
，OK。
3 years.
So
Since 2019. We opened the doors to our REIT and then went right into the pandemic. Now, we had 3 funds before the REIT, and they were what's called a Regulation D private equity fund. And all 3 of those funds rolled into the REIT, became a part of the REIT, and those were in business since 2015. So we've been 6 years.
The second question is, 5% guarantee is the minimum, and what was the actual distributions investor got?
We've only done 5% for distributions. The returns are higher. The reason I don't do more, because if I distributed the 30% out, then you would be taxed on the 30%. And so one of the things that I attempt to do for my investors is to allow their money to grow without the taxation part of it. And so I think that's really important. So just know the only time from us that you ever face tax is either like when you withdraw on your capital gains or if you get a distribution, and then that's what you're taxed upon. We may do more in the future, but the first 2 years we did the 5%.
That's a lot of questions.
I have more questions.
I have more answers.
Yeah. I need more time.
Appreciate you. If you have your forms, now would be the. We're gonna leave. If you forget, if you hand them in later to Young, he'll make sure and get those to us too. But just go to the website. We're working on hiring people on the team that speak Mandarin to help. But what I would say is that, like, look, we love to have you guys as investors. We're going to continue this journey and continue these great relationships. And for those of you that are investors, great gratitude. And you guys enjoy the rest of your time with Young. Thank you very much.